So a couple weeks ago, I made a video and I revealed that I don't actually throw big flicks in real life. But there's almost no consequences for claiming that I do on the internet, so I'm going to continue to do that. But anyways, I did ask for some advice at the end of that video about things that might have helped you throw forehands better, or what advice the comments had for me, which was a risky strategy. But I got Chris Clemons' help to sort of interpret that, I guess, some of that advice. And the biggest piece of advice that I saw was that I need to lead with my elbow. But this is something that has hurt in the past, and I've also heard some people not teach and say that it's bad, so I wanted to get Chris's input. So I've got Chris Clemons here, notable good forehand thrower. How do you feel about the advice to lead with your elbow?
I feel good about it. I think that's important. I think if you look at a lot of forehanders like who have really good forehands like myself, Eagle, Sexton, like if you pause where they're throwing, like their elbow is leading,
yeah,
and their arm is like behind. So
whenever I've heard that advice to lead with your elbow, I've tried to apply it to my throw and just kind of crank my arm like that and then throw, and it always is hurt. It's always just immediately pain.
Like it hurts your elbow?
Yeah. And so I read a post on Reddit from a while ago. I don't know if you saw it. It was, I'll link it down in the description, but it was about how the different joints in your body work. How your shoulder is like I guess kind of a ball and socket joint, and your knee and your elbow are hinges. And that was kind of like a light bulb moment for me, because if my arm is here and my elbow is a hinge, if I use that hinge to throw the disc, it just goes down. So it's not a matter of just getting my elbow farther out front, it's a matter of like turning my whole arm so that when I use that hinge, when I straighten my arm, it goes down the fairway rather than down.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Do you agree with that?
I never thought about that. Like you're saying, like have it kind of facing up?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Have your whole arm like rotated more upwards so that the extension...
And like if I'm just holding my disc how I would throw, like I guess it kind of is like that.
So this was a huge revelation to me. I tend to think about the throw pretty mechanically, as in if I had a machine that worked like a human skeleton and like bent like a human skeleton, how I would use that machine to throw. It's mostly just a trebuchet, but that's how I think about the throw rather than from like an athletic perspective. So the realization that the elbow is a hinge and you probably want to just point the hinge down the fairway was pretty big for me. One of the things that really helped that I think Chris was saying that I didn't really get until I was watching it later was that part of getting your elbow out away from you lets you turn your arm. If my arm is down here, then it doesn't really turn very well. But if I get my elbow out away, it's easier to turn my arm and easier to get my elbow leaning forward. So that's probably why he gets more power when he keeps his elbow away. I thought that was really cool. I'm gonna try just a justice shot. I'm not gonna try and throw it very hard. You know, I bet you I'd throw forehands farther if the 60% of people who are watching this video and not subscribed were subscribed. It's worth a shot at least. So normally my throw would be about there.
So the wind's kind of like right to left.
Oh yeah, I'm not really worried about where it's going. I'm more worried about what my arm is doing because it's not gonna be pretty. So if I focus too much on that, it's not gonna be great.
You're always pretty.
So I'm gonna try and, it feels like I'm kind of leaning over to the side more.
It does feel like that.
Are you leaning to the side when you're throwing?
I mean, I think like when I look at pictures of myself in a forehand, yeah, I'm like kind of leaning this way and it's almost like out here. And
interesting.
I'm like really hitting it.
I can see how getting it out farther is easier to turn your arm that direction. I don't think this is gonna go well, but we'll find out. I'm gonna aim.
If you throw 400 feet, I'm gonna be mad.
I'm gonna go like 100 feet, maybe.
Okay. That hurt?
A little in my shoulder, and it went like 50 feet left of where I was aiming. Okay. Distance was spot on though. Before we go back to my fieldwork session with Chris, let's talk about some of the advice that I got in the comments. So when you ask for advice on the internet, you're gonna get a lot of advice. Some of it will be applicable and some of it won't be, but that's one of the best things about the disc golf community is how helpful everyone is. It's probably advice that either helped them or they heard somebody who teaches a lot say or something, or helped a friend or something like that. It's all coming from a really helpful place, but it might not always be applicable. So some of that advice that I got that I don't think is necessarily applicable to me, but is probably helpful for a lot of people was about rolling the wrist. So a lot of people, they struggle with wobbly and turned over forehands. And I did some wobbling and turning over in my video, but I don't think that was because I was rolling my wrist. So a lot of people, when they grip a forehand, they grip with their fingers sideways into the rim like that. And that means that you really have to keep your wrist upright. But if when I grip a forehand, I turn my fingers into the rim so that the motion is more like that as I'm throwing. So I can follow through forward and I don't have to worry about that causing the disc to wobble. In a similar vein, a lot of people were telling me to throw understable or slower discs to try and get a clean forehand, but I've never really had a problem forehanding understable discs. I can throw Mavericks, I can throw Truths, I can throw putters forehand, not a problem. It's just the power that was kind of a struggle. So anyways, now that that's covered, let's go back to the session with Chris.
If I ever have like pain, it is usually like in my shoulder or sometimes in my forearm.
Okay.
That's usually the only places I get pain. It's very rare, but especially like now since I've been practicing a lot to get ready for the season, I'll be sore in my pec a lot.
It's from that muscle, I bet.
Yep.
Okay. No, that hurt too. We're off to a great start.
Have you warmed up at all?
No, I haven't. I guess I kind of did like arm circles and stuff.
What do you have that's like straight?
Straight, I have a Maverick.
Yeah, or even a mid-range.
A midi?
Yeah.
Oh, we'll try the Maverick.
Try
first.
to throw it flat.
Flat? Oh man.
It's a good flight.
Usually clean release isn't my problem. It's the force behind it that is.
The distance.
Mm-hmm.
Like the
that
pop.
one didn't hurt though. Did I do it there?
Looked clean. It looked
kind of
good.
it felt smooth, but I wasn't sure if I did it right. I'll try it again.
And I heard like the whip.
I felt like I held onto the disc like a half a second longer.
Really?
Because usually I guess it just pops out here, but that time it felt like I held onto it all the way out there.
Maybe that's like the hit point.
Maybe that's it. I mean, that was smooth too. That was a mid-range.
Yeah, yeah. That looked clean.
Because like the analogy that I used on the other video was, it's like if you have a weight in your hand and you're swinging it back and forth, that's the feeling. That's what I was trying to do to get the hit. But then my thought is like, if I've ever hit something, I've never hit it like this. I've always hit it like that, right? I'm always extending my arm.
Right.
And so I'm trying to imagine like, if there was a board right here that I was trying to hit.
Especially when I'm warming up, I'll like take it and just be like, boom, like this little chop.
Just right there.
Yeah, it's just like a little chop right there.
All right, we'll try again. There's a board right there. Let's see if I can throw my disc through it. And then, like it's not consistent at all, but it feels right at least.
Yeah, it's no more pain.
Yeah? Does that look okay in lower body? That's kind of what I worked on last week was
That's how you do it?
keeping my weight
How do I do it? I just
over my toes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do shuffle step.
Then I'm like locked in.
I feel like you're more sideways than I am. I wonder if that would help.
Sideways as in like this?
Like I'm walking up like this and then you're more turned.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean like if I'm throwing like a baseball or even a football or something, like if I'm throwing, I'm gonna be like this.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be sideways, so I'm like leading with my body and getting there. And so with the forehand, it's no different. I'm gonna be to the side and then coming through.
I guess that gives you more range of motion because here I can only rotate from there to there, but if I go sideways, then I can rotate.
You're really leaning back and getting more into the disc.
Okay, we're just worried about lower body, still not concerned with where the disc is going.
Smash.
I don't know if I did that right. It's hard to tell if it's tailwind too, because that's like
pushing it?
That's like 320 maybe, which is like great, but
yeah,
it's also downhill.
It is a good win, right to left
Yeah?
tail for a forehand for you. Be good for my backhand.
It was all wobbly. That was horrible. Try and go more like that.
Yeah, and like
Oh,
get
that
sideways so you can pop with your back hip.
Feels like my knee is, or my arm is so far behind me. Why
Yeah.
would I say knee there? Okay.
Same thing. There you go.
Oh, that felt good.
Yeah.
That's really good, actually.
That's like 550, bro.
Easy, man. That's
Watch out, Eagle.
maybe 330, but I'll take it. So it's not, when people say lead with their shoulder, with the elbow, they're not talking about just that. They're talking about a whole motion that involves leading with the elbow.
Right. It would be like a backhand if you were to come through and then you're like open and you're just like that.
Yeah.
You know, like you're trying to turn away and hit into it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the forehand is the same thing. And a lot of people say, they're like, well, I like throwing forehands, and I say it like on tighter gaps because you're not turning away from the target.
Because your
it's
head
true.
doesn't turn.
Yeah, like your head doesn't turn, but your body's still turning.
Yeah.
To throw. You know, you're not like this and throwing just like that.
Mm-hmm.
You're trying to get everything you have into it.
Like, that's not bad.
Smackaroo. Yeah.
So for those of you who watched my last forehand video, you know that the main thing that I was focusing on is not leaning back and forward as I'm throwing. And in this video, I am very much right back to leaning back and forward as I'm throwing. So, isn't that just how it goes sometimes? But at least now I have the feel for what my arm should be doing and what my lower body should be doing. I just need to get out to the field and do some field work to put those two things together. It's really interesting. I'm excited to do forehand field work. It's always been like taking medicine before, where it's like, I really don't want to do it, but now I'm like, I want to go throw forehands. Have you thrown these Lucid X Enforcers?
I have not.
You want to?
It's really beefy.
They're not as stable as like the Melton ones from years ago, but they're pretty beefy.
Oh, yeah, I think that's what Emax. That is nice. Does he have evaders too?
Yeah, I don't think evaders. I think just explorers. Oh,
Didn't
yeah,
get
your
over on
elbow's
it.
kind of far away from you compared to mine.
Yeah, it is.
I need to try that.
If I'm throwing far, that's what I will do.
Yeah. Golly, that's a crush. How far do you think, does it feel like you threw that?
400.
Really?
Maybe.
It's down there.
Maybe.
It's probably a lot longer because of the wind and stuff.
Right, but if I'm throwing like, an upshot or something like softer, like when I'm throwing a shot like this, I don't know if I take my elbow out as much.
Yeah, it kind of was.
But I know that when I'm throwing like a short upshot, like, I don't know, not very long, I keep it in more. I definitely like keep it in more to like control that, because like if I take it out, I throw it really hard. And like it's easier for me to control distance if I keep
It's like controlling power, yeah. Like, that's not bad. My weight shift was all wrong because I'm not.
Wasn't bad at all. And like what I try to remind myself, I mean, the wind for me was like right to left, so I really have to get over on it. But
yeah,
that, like you saw with that red defender, I would hyzer it. So I have to remember to like keep my, especially like my upper body like over my feet to where I'm like this more instead of going like this.
That's kind of what I was working on last week, is like, I could tell that one on the last throw, my weight shift was reverted back to what I was doing before, where I was like,
right. And so I'd be like this and almost leaning back, and so it would go up. And so I have to remind myself to like really get over and like follow through.
That's better. Not leaning backwards. That kind of worked.
Yeah. It's nice.
Awesome. Wow.
Just got to manipulate the disc, right?
That was great, man.
It's just money. It's just like, yeah, look at that wind just pushing it. It's just really nice.
It's still so far. Anyways, that's all I have for this video. Let me know if you have any other advice for me down in the comments, or what advice has helped you in the past if you want to help other people. Thank you so much for your help on the last one. Make sure you subscribe for more content on how to become a better disc golfer. And always remember, slow is smooth and smooth is far.